Growing up in the eastern Coachella Valley, which is a very rural, low-income farm working community, really influenced the way I viewed and interacted with politics, policy, and the law. Being a part of this community that I felt like it was always being discounted, pushed me to want to do more.
I think that there's a really important piece about my own story that is in and of itself a testament to the work that I do now. My family's lives were impacted on both sides through public policies, deliberate racist ones that moved the border, took away homes, made it so that Social Security benefits weren't accessible to some workers of classifications. But on the flip side, my parents, who were born in the 1950s, were able to change their lives, as both were first-generation college students, and they were able to go to college. At that time, they really were in a movement and in a time period that we very much have been right now in this 21st century. A movement for dignity and inclusion, civil rights, anti-war protests.
My mother took me to my first picket line when I was 13 years old in support of the United Farm Workers. That and the example of her and my father, who really, with no formal training, were activists in the 1960s, really set the foundation for the path of my being both an activist and then my later understanding that activism is good and protest marches are good, but you really need to understand the data and understand the context of the issue, and that led me to the field of public policy.
I was only one of 2 Latinos in the entire nation that worked for the ACLU, and sitting in rooms where normally we had not been a part of a conversation about civil liberties, civil rights, with our white male Caucasian partners. For far too long, Latinas have not been a part of that conversation. And it has been some trailblazers, our ancestors, our folks who have come into professional positions and other policy-making positions that have paved the way for us. So it is not only important that we be at the table, it's an obligation for our community.
The failure to see others in those roles, and ultimately in my time at the White House, and not seeing very many folks represented early on in my career trajectory, I think has always compelled me and inspired me to do more to make sure that we have Latinos and Latinas represented in all sectors and at all levels. Most recently, it's been still disappointing to feel like and be the only Hispanic or Latina in some important meetings.
Being Latina, being Mexican American is just, it's so intrinsic to who I am and to everything that I do. So I found myself representing a young woman who needed access to abortion care and was denied that access by the Trump administration, specifically because she was in immigration detention. But that case was critically important, I think, not to 2 movements, to the immigrants' rights movement, but also to the fight for reproductive rights. It also was critically important in every piece of work that I've done, especially in working with Jane Doe and fighting for her rights, because I was able to interface with her. I was able to talk to her in a language that she understood and to tell her story for the rest of the country to hear.
I love to think big, and I think one of the opportunities for the United States to be even more powerful is to ensure that every Latina feels at home here in the United States. 1, this has been our land for centuries. 2, if it's our most recent land, it's also a place that we know how to make home. And the key power of being Latina is about bringing community together, about creating spaces for each other. So we have this great opportunity not only to shape the future of the United States, but we also have, through our common ancestors, through our cousins, through our families, a great opportunity to shape what the Western Hemisphere looks like and how we can truly understand how leadership should be and how that all voices are included.
The power of convenings and informing and inspiring Latinas, I think is incredibly important. We can learn from other Latinas in key roles and share those experiences and learnings for so many of us who've been in leadership roles and have the opportunity, though, as leaders to learn from younger Latinas and other Latinas in sectors that perhaps we don't always engage in.
Latina Futures is meant to solve that, and it's in its DNA. Because Latina Futures started with a critical mass of Latina legislators in Sacramento, and their really clear-cut, data-driven leadership. For me, there is a real big, important part that we need to seize power, especially with the generational kind of demographic trends happening. Who are the new leaders? How are they going to stay in leadership when they're under attack, or they're being told that they're not good enough?
The work of Latina Futures is instrumental to the economic and political viability of California and of this nation. And I say that without a hesitation, because when you see the demographics of the fact that Latinas are truly the future demographics, right? We're currently more than 50% of the mothers of the children here in California. We are 20% of California's population. We make up the second largest ethnic group in the United States.
We need different people from different backgrounds to do a number of just jobs and work, from organizer to strategist, to elected official, to researcher, to mobilizer, organizer. I think that there is a place in every facet of our lived experience in the United States, and that there is a duty for that experience to break through every industry, career, again, pathway, etc.
We in the Latino community are part and parcel of why this country is so prosperous, why this country is so diverse, and why this country continues to be a leader in the world. Without us, it doesn't happen.